what is not to be expected is just the cluster as it happened now. And like I said, I mean, it's part of ensuring that we introduce better health in the system. It's going to take some time, but we are confident about the ability of the generation team led by Mr. Numalo and Eric here doing an exceptional amount of work. On curtailment, ESCOM is still working on that, and once we have been able to they've concluded that you'll be able to receive that update. And then on embedded generation, what we have computed the last time was that generating about 4,000 or so megawatts. Of course, they still remain grid tight. That's the update that we had, the latest that we had. And then on power imports, ESCOM is still working on concluding the standard offer program. And once that it is done, I'm sure we will be in a position to indicate to you what the size of the megawatts are. And then on the IRP, because it's a policy document, the expectation is that once Cabinet approves it, it will go for public participation. But to be more specific to the question, it did not serve at Cabinet. I think the expectation is that it will serve in the last Cabinet meeting, I think in a fortnight's time, and then Minister Mantashe, of course, will share with the country what the elements are, and then we will receive the kind of, if you like, input that the country and the experts and players will want to offer on what our position is. And then on the JED IP, no, that's not a policy document. That talks to how the country wants to use that facility, what are the areas of priority. Like I said, we identified transmission as one of those, we identified distribution as one of those, we identified interventions in the Mpumalanga area as one of those. So really it's not a policy document. So the expectation is that it doesn't go out for public comment. It's really about how government sees the best way of engaging with that instrument, the financing facility, and the priority areas of deployment. Like I said, Minister Chris will provide that additional detail. And of course, on bid window number 7, yes, we want to go out. One of the key issues there is to make sure that as we go out, we are able to. We are not going to be location agnostic this time. We are going to be specific around where this location should be of these new projects, because we want to ensure that there's some degree of alignment between the projects and also the issues on the availability of transmission capacity. We know that in the previous bid window number 6, there's about 2,000 megawatts that remained unallocated as a result of capacity constraints on the grid side. So we don't want this to suffer, if you like, the same blow as a bid window number 6, because really it undermines the pace at which we want to roll out and incorporate the renewables on stream. So it's important that we are able to match projects to grid capacity so that we are able to accelerate the progression of those projects and are able to reach a financial close as speedily as possible. And then on the issues of transmission financing, so I did make the point that the offer by the International Partners Group really relates to the just transition, and you can imagine that the scope of that financing facility simply focuses on what helps the country to go clean. And of course, the country's needs are beyond just what is considered clean in the traditional sense. I think gas will be part of that conversation. So it's important that we broaden the flow of these financing opportunities. We know, for an example, concretely, that institutions like the New Development Bank, the NDP, have made available a facility of about $3 billion to help on the transmission side. And then there's also private sector-driven initiatives where private sector players were successful bidders in previous bid windows, and because of the capacity constraint, they've built in their model the ability to raise money with the financing institutions to provide for grid expansion, to allow for the evacuation of the electrons that they are producing. So the flow of financing will also include that kind of configuration. So what is the point I'm making is that the flow is much, much bigger than what the IPG is offering, what the NDB is offering. And that's why once we conclude this approach on how we want to finance transmission, you will see that there's an insatiable appetite. When we went when we hosted the transmission financing seminar, there were a significant amount of, if you like, pledges from the floor, from various financing institutions to say we are ready to participate, create a framework, create a dispensation. Let's have sight of that governance framework that is going to inform how we're going to tap into this private sector liquidity. And that paper, or if you like, the cabinet report, seeks to respond to those questions. And once they get to be responded to, then we will have an appreciation of, if you like, the size of the investment that is available from private sector. And of course, that will be made known to yourself, so that there's a better appreciation of the flow of financing options that are available to us. But I think from where we are seated, I know from where we are seated that the flow is significantly bigger than what is already on the table. And we really want to expand this. I mean, once you do that, it means that we're able to negotiate better, we're able to get significant trade-offs in relation to the cost of that financing. It just broadens the options that are available to us. And of course, what will underpin that is a sovereign interest. At all material times, we protect the interest of the country. And really, that's the kind of conversation we're having. So there's no fixed number, but all I know is that it's significantly, it's a significant amount that is available. And of course, it can even surpass what we have computed to be the amount of financing that is required for us to be able to strengthen and expand the transmission. Thank you.